Davies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Amina Margot.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a Vic Akers Wonderland Podcast, the Chelsea versus Arsenal preview. It's the big one. It's the one we've all been waiting for. It's the battle at Stamford Bridge between two of the three teams, battling out for the title. I'm very nervous about this one, and I'm not sure how my co-conspirators feel, but I think this is going to be a big one, and I can't wait for it. So, without further ado, I shall introduce the magnificent Matt. Matt, looking forward to this one?
Yeah, it's going to be a tight one, I think. A lot tighter than we saw at the Emirates this season, that's for sure.
Yeah, the Emirates game was special. I think we can all agree. I was there for that one. That was electric. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. It would be nice, but as when we get into, it may not be so simple. Also with me is, of course, the lovely Lottie. Lottie, you're going to be there for this one. How excited are you?
Fairly excited, although the last away game I went to, we lost. So this is my second away game. If we lose, I'm never going to away game again.
Yes, I was.
Technically, I wouldn't be allowed to go to the final, so that's a complete and total lie. Because I'm going. We're all going.
We are all going. And I say I was with you for that away game. It wasn't a good one, but of course we did get our revenge at Emirates Stadium. So all things equal, hopefully another win's on the cards.
The only thing Emma Hayes ever wanted was to win at the Emirates, and she still didn't get it.
She still didn't get it, and hopefully, providing she never comes back to the WSL, she never will. And you may have heard on the audio, I'm not just joined by the magnificent Matt or the lovely Lottie. For this special game, we have brought a special guest along, all the way from the All Arsenal show on the Mr. Arsenal podcast. It is, of course, the gorgeous G. G, good evening. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's been a while, so it's always nice to chat to you guys. And yeah, cannot wait for tomorrow. Just want the working day to be done. And
Absolutely.
Get back into the game.
For listeners, we are recording this on the Thursday evening. But the night before, it feels a bit Christmassy, sort of the night before Christmas. Yeah, the night before the day after. It has been, though, nonetheless, a very busy Thursday. A lot of stuff has come up in the news, which we will go through. But first, as we always do, a quick icebreaker. For those who don't know, obviously I have a second life. I work on the railway, and today I had to do a special exam in Croydon for the whole day to prove that I am safe to work on the railway. And it's very annoying and very stressful. And thankfully I passed. And with that in mind, I'm thinking of the Arsenal. This is going to be a very testing match. I think we can all agree, a real test for the team. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. And I think we'll all agree as a fan, it's going to be stressful. So to all of you, what has been the worst or most stressful test you've had to undertake? And Matt, I'm going to come to you first.
Oddly enough, I had a job interview for quite recently, and they have to make you do one of these assessments, and it was really, I won't go into details, but yeah, you had to basically just do the assessment. That because of certain things that I had, like certain conditions that I had, they had to delay the test. So then it just got really bad. So because you delay it and you're like, I just want to do this now. Yeah, it's horrible. But no, that was just the worst. Luckily, I passed second time. But
that's all that matters. I mean, and this is the thing. This is what I had earlier today. It was a bit stressful, and I thought I'd done terribly. It turned out I hadn't. It turned out I'd done really, really well, and I'm safe to work on track for 2 years, which is great because my job kind of needs that. So it is stressful, but it's good to get over the line. Lottie, any particularly stressful testing experiences we can share?
I think it's got to be that Galatasaray game we had in Turkey in the Champions League. Unfortunately, I didn't get a ticket in the Arsenal end, and I have side on to Ramsey's weak left foot shot, and I couldn't sit there and scream my head off. I sat there and cried The Turkish fans thought I was upset because they scored that wonderful goal, but I was crying because I couldn't celebrate, and it was just so hard just to sit there and go, "Oh my God, what did I just witness?"
It is.
That is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, and do you know what? I don't regret a minute of it.
No. I mean, it's absolutely you should choose a Champions League goal. Thinking obviously what we've enjoyed or endured this week. Obviously, the Arsenal men are falling.
That game is up there as well. Let's just not go there. I'm not over that yet.
I was going to say the Arsenal men have now followed the trend of the Arsenal women on progressing in Europe when they're in the competition.
Finally.
So finally, took 14 years I think it was in the end. But yeah, one of the great Champions League goals, and I watched on TV, and it was superb from Rambo, who interestingly actually made a return to Emirates Stadium the other night, which was good to see.
Yeah, it was so good to see him. Like, he was down the front. I was looking at him and thinking, who is that? And then he said Aaron Ramsey. I was like, oh my God, he's back.
Aaron Ramsey,
it was just the memories that come flooding back of that boy. He hasn't aged a bit though. I think he's part vampire.
Maybe he is. Gio, I'll come to you last. Any particular terrible tests you've had to endure or succeed in?
I'll go with the football one as well.
Right.
But I had to go. Well, I didn't have to. I went to Etihad Stadium last season for the Arsenal game.
Ooh.
With my stepdad. He's a Man City fan, and obviously I wasn't going to pass up the occasion to 1, visit a new stadium, 2, watch my team in a very hopeful game, and it wasn't very hopeful in the end.
No, it wasn't.
And it was the worst thing. They were doing the Poznan around me, and I literally stood still and froze like a statue.
So you were in the home end? Oh.
Yeah. It was painful. Obviously, anything that they were very good that day as well, and I just had to sort of sit still and look around and not get beat up.
No, I can understand, and I think that there are, as much as I say Man City, you're on the Lions Den then, although compared to maybe other stadiums, it's probably quite a tame Lions Den. There are probably worse home stands you could be having to hide in. For me, it's no question. It's doing my driving test. Had to do it twice, sadly. It's like bouncing a tightrope. Trying to navigate through that without knowing, with the whole majors and minors and stuff. Very grateful to get through it, because having a car and being able to drive, it does impact your life, or not being able to rather. But hopefully, Friday night, Chelsea v Arsenal, it will be a less stressful experience. So let's put that to one side and move back onto proper football news. No, we're not actually, because this is a side news to the football, which is magnificent news for the Arsenal and for Amanda Ilestedt, our Swedish defender, is pregnant, and I think a massive congratulations, round of applause is required. For those of you who can't pick up an audio, we are applauding with great vigor. And a magnificent moment for Amanda. We wish her all the best. That's now 2 baby Gooners on the way, following in the tails of Manu. She will, of course, now will be out for the rest of the season, sadly. So that's now 2 defenders we've lost this season. I think we're now down to Lotta, Leia, and Laia Kadina. But we wish Amanda all the best with pregnancy, and hope it all goes well. And we can't wait to have her back. I think Jonas was speaking at a press conference about how the club are basically do everything they can to support her. There's a very lovely video when the news breaks in the Twitter feed. I do urge you, if you have not watched it, to give it a go. And shout out to Katie McCabe, who I think has the best line in the whole video. Won't see what it is, but it's worth watching for that.
If it wasn't for her sarcasm, I'd expect that to come out of Beth Mead's mouth and
yes.
literally serious about it as well. So definitely go check it out, guys, and let us know what you think.
Absolutely. I should say Beth Mead did have a line of her own in there, which is also worth listening. But it's a beautiful moment, and it's great to see the whole club, the players, the manager, all supporting her. So we wish her all the best. Moving now properly onto the game coming up, and it's going to be a big one, not just because of what's at stake, but in terms of the audience that's there. We know that over 30,000 tickets have been sold. This is looking like a record Chelsea women's attendance at Stamford Bridge. Just to throw a few figures about the record of WSL, I've got clocked at around 24,000. That was a Spurs game back in 2019. I think the most they've ever got in there was about 27,000. That was their Champions League game against Barcelona, which they lost. But 30,000, 10,000 short of the capacity. We've had a 6,000 away allocation. I know that we believe that over 5,000 have been sold. We're hearing rumours that it could be close to a sellout. I think it might fall a bit short, but if it is a sellout, it's an amazing moment. And as much as we are Arsenal fans, credit where credit's due. That's an amazing achievement for Chelsea. So, question for all of you: what is your opinion on Chelsea and Stamford Bridge? Are we impressed with what they're doing? Because they were a bit of a slow burner. They've been reluctant to move in Kings Meadow. But G, I'll give you first dibs on this one. What's your view on the Chelsea growth at Stamford Bridge?
I think it's good that they now put in the big game there. Because like you said, it's not been there previously. And it has the capacity to allow the big crowds to come in, I think, especially with us bringing close to 6,000, we hope. That's amazing for an away section. And they know that. I think it's good that they've understood that there will be a demand for the Arsenal side, and if they can't if they can't fill out their side, then maybe to order to bring people in and get the bigger crowd to allow more away fans, which I think is really good, to be fair. But I think they've got a long way to go in terms of marketing it at Stamford Bridge, because they have fallen short a few times. And Chelsea are a pretty big club. You can't deny that, and you'd think that they would be able to draw in more. But I mean, without it playing us, I wouldn't know that it was at Stamford Bridge. I have not seen anything posted or heard about personally myself. Obviously, I don't follow many Chelsea people, but you would still know that certain games are at certain stadiums. But if it wasn't for us playing them, I wouldn't be sure that it was at Stamford Bridge. It's just a shame it's a Friday night, so I can't go. I would have loved to have gone.
I was going to say it is shame it's Friday night, because I'm not going to be watching it either. I have family commitments for that evening, so I will not be watching that game. I will be Sky Plusing it, of course, and I do hope when the occasion's over, I get my phone out and I see a handsome win for the Arsenal.
You've got enough room on your Skybox this time, though.
There is. I tell you what, there are a lot of Arsenal recordings I've kept on there down the years, and I refuse only wins, obviously, and I refuse to delete them, because it's always good to just to open up the Sky Planner.
Declan Rice's penalty.
Well, that one was a bit of annoyance. For those who don't know, I was obviously away, and when the Arsenal men were playing Porto, and I thought, well, I'll Sky Plus it. I'll watch it in the hotel, but I'll Sky Plus it so I can go back and enjoy what was obviously going to be, a mere triviality of us beating them. It wasn't. It went to extra time, and as always, these things, it's all scheduled, and the extra time went beyond the schedule of what the program's meant to be, and so it cut out just before the last 2 penalties in the shootout. But of course, we did get Trossard's goal on there, which is all good. I'll move on to Matt. Just add onto this one. Chelsea have had a policy of an offer of a buy one get one free, trying to increase the sale of tickets. Obviously, it's great because it seems to have worked, but is it a bit disappointing they've had to resort to that?
Well, you think about how it's been going on in the past. Barcelona did that in Nou Camp for the El Clasico in the Women's Champions League 2 seasons ago. So it's not unheard of that you're going to get a 2-for-1 offer and to bring those sort of people in. You're offering the opportunity to have more people come in and just enjoy a decent game of football without having to pay X, was it? I mean, look at that. Let's just think about Premier League tickets, for example. You're paying up. Last time I went to a Premier League game, it was a couple of years ago, and I paid 80 quid for my ticket.
It's more than that now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're paying £10, £20, £15 for 2 people instead of paying, say, 30 for 2 people, it's helping your fans out because you're in some ways as well, but it's helping them get through the gate. But at the same time, it's also the opportunity to get more revenue for themselves into the club. You're thinking about if it's 2-for-1s, that's an extra an extra program, an extra hot dog. Oh no, Chelsea don't do hot dogs, do they? It's an extra burgers and chips, whatever you sell.
The markup you get,
it's things like that will actually help. But where it really will determine what will happen is the atmosphere. I mean, if we were just to talk about the Emirates this season, like from Liverpool, that atmosphere is dead. And now then you go to the Emirates when we played Tottenham, the place was absolutely bouncing. Everyone, it wasn't just there was the singing section doing Katie McCabe. You had pretty much everywhere around me, I could hear everyone was singing Katie McCabe's song. So it's just about making sure that everyone can get that unison together. But I don't think that's going to happen at Stamford Bridge. I think it's going to be fairly quiet. I mean, in the Champions League,
you should say apart from the repetition of the chant Chelsea, and give me a C, give me an H, give me an E, etc., etc., etc. You strike on a big, you might say a big point. The home attendance in the Champions League have been a disappointment.
Yeah, and it's just one of those where you think it's Champions League. Your team have got some fairly decent teams. If I remember, they had Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think.
So there was some big side. Was it and Paris as well?
Paris FC. Yeah, absolutely.
And buy a ticket for that.
You do look at them as well. They've got Champions League against Ajax as well, and you would have thought that's going to bring people in as well. But it's just like they don't seem to have the pull that Arsenal do, and it's a really odd one considering that they talk about the trophies most of the time, but they're not really backing it up with actually being there and supporting them. It seems to be they're all online, but they're not willing to go
down to Stamford Bridge.
Move from online to come down to Stamford Bridge to support their team, which is odd.
They do have a loud online community, I know, because I've heard them. But I think it's an interesting point that hasn't necessarily transferred into the stadium. We should say, of course, from an Arsenal perspective, we had our group stages last season at the Emirates Stadium, and I think we got over 3,000. But it's nothing like what we're getting now. They were a bit underwhelming, even against Lyon. We would get something around
7,000 last season. That figures from the season before.
So we weren't getting. We weren't getting the big It took us until the semi-final to get the 60,000 against Wolfsburg.
Barcelona was 12,000, wasn't it? The first season.
Barcelona is Barcelona. I mean, that will pull in the fan base. For me, the idea of it buy one get one free, I think devalues the ticket slightly. It's great that it gets the personnel in, and you want that to fill up that stadium. But the fact that it's the old free tickets thing, and unfortunately, the misogynists online, as much nonsense as they talk, one of the things they say is, were they giving out free tickets? Well, unfortunately, in this instance, they were, and that's really frustrating. And one of the great things about Arsenal is, of course, that all the tickets we've done for the stadium are all sold. They are all individually bought and paid for by the fans. Every ticket in every seat sold has been paid for by somebody, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the accounts.
You've just made me remember. Sorry, Adam. I know you're on a roll.
Yeah.
but then the Merseyside derby is coming up next week, and Everton have gone out of their way to give tickets to their people in their support programs, the women's football programs and things like that. They've gone out of their way to do a Q&A yesterday with 3 players, Gali, Piemonte, and there was someone else. I think it was Hannah Benison. I'm not too sure, but that's how they promote their team, and that's how they get people to try and go into the door. And it's just things like that other clubs don't do, which Chelsea could do quite easily to build that and get those tickets through. Because some of these games are very big, but there's not that atmosphere for that. I expect Merseyside derby to have over 25,000 fans at Goodison Park next weekend.
And you mentioned atmosphere. That's why I wanted to come to Lottie on. I was just going to say with the accounts, I'm really looking forward to seeing the accounts, because I'm really looking forward to seeing how much revenue has the Arsenal generated, how much revenue. And I should also say on about the food and drink. One of the big selling things of an Arsenal women's game at Emirates Stadium has been the Armoury. A lot of shirt sales happen on the Armoury, more on a women's game than a men's game. I'm really excited to see how much revenue are we operating to effective as a profit, because that would be amazing. But the atmosphere is a big one, as I mentioned earlier. Chelsea's chanting, in terms of variation, leaves a lot to be desired. I've no doubt the commitment from some is there, but it lacks maybe the numbers and the noise and the variation. How impressive has it been, Lottie, the atmosphere that we bring to away games, and the fact that pretty much every time we go to away game this season, it's led to record attendances at that stadium? I think of Brighton. I think of the Liverpool game. I was lucky to be there. We sold out the away location. We had away fans in the home section because they wouldn't have seats. How impressive is that?
It's like as they sing, the Arsenal are massive everywhere they go, and I can't believe I've just said that because that's a West Ham thing. Yeah, that I can't get my head around that chant, I'm afraid. Yeah, no, it is. We're sort of the leading the way of showing how it should be done, but it's also a case of the clubs, as Emma Hayes said this morning, actually, the clubs need to start backing their women's teams like Arsenal have. And I think Chelsea are just starting to do that, although Chelsea have been bringing the silverware home for a number of years, and it's been really disappointing to see them still at Kings Meadow and like hosting the easy games like Tottenham Hotspur. No offense, Spurs, but till this point you've been a bit crap. But they've host teams like Spurs and smaller teams, which they'll know they'll literally hand a big fat scoreline to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you see games like the Champions League. I think, was it Lyon they played last season?
So had Lyon and Barcelona at Stamford Bridge. And they lost both games. Like that.
Exactly. They lost both games, and you see them take on the big teams, and you see why they don't play there and why they want to stay at Kings Meadow.
Absolutely.
I think it's a case of Chelsea needing to give them a bit more free reign. Yes, we know there's a set limit of how many matches the stadium can hold every season. Yeah. But if you're out of a competition, that frees up the space, and that's exactly what Arsenal have done. We're out of the FA Cup, we're out of the League Cup for the men's.
No, we're not. Oh, men's, yeah.
It's the men's. No, what do you mean? I'm talking about the stadium. Because we don't have those men's fixtures, we got an extra one for Leicester. Yeah. And I'm so excited for Leicester because Leicester have their games every single game at the King Power. And now it's time to return the favour. I think when the fixtures were announced, that was the one team I was really disappointed about. I was like, where's Leicester? Yeah. That's the one team that deserves to come to the Emirates, and I can't wait for that.
I can't either.
So it's nice to see Chelsea finally getting on board, but is this going to be a permanent feature after Emma Hayes goes? No, the Champions League. Champions League will be next season, but after that, who knows? Because we don't know what's going to happen to them next season at this point.
Just a simple yes or no. If it isn't a sellout, me personally, I think this is going to maybe fall about 500 short. But if it's not a sellout, do you foresee them, if they keep doing this, getting a sellout in the WSL next season?
Well, if they keep pushing it, it depends. They need to take some tips from Arsenal and their marketing department. If I'm honest with you, I did before the show, I did slip into their website, and their club level tickets are 60-70 pound for a women's game. Are you crazy?
There was a thing about
30 quid. Do you know what I mean? And that's what people will buy because they think, oh, I'm not going to sit in the lowest stands today. I'm going to go sit in the fancy seats, which is what usually Adam does, by the way.
And I tell you what, the prawn sandwiches are delicious.
It's all right. Leave me in the lowest here.
We'll make our own noise.
Leave the commoners to it, innit, Matt?
I would say, I think the Arsenal, it'd be very interesting to hear the noise because I think the Arsenal fans will make a lot of noise. We heard it a lot with some of the away games. I think of the Man United game, you could really hear the Arsenal fans singing. I can't wait to hear. I hope the fans think, I hope the Red and White Collective, who do a lot of the fan marching and singing, can get the entirety of the away allocation singing along, because that would be pretty special. And if we can drown out some of the Chelsea chants, that would be even better. I do think they're going to sell out at some point. I think it is inevitable, and I think it's a good thing that they are. I'll pat them on the back and say well done, and I hope they continue to do so, and I hope other stadiums do the same. Just want to quickly mildly correct myself. Yes, I know Chelsea lost to Lyon in the Champions League. They did, of course, win on penalties because of a drawn aggregate. We will move back to Chelsea in a bit. There was obviously one big news that happened today, and that was the discourse in the pre-match press conferences about player-manager relationships. Now, this is on the back of the what's happening at Leicester with Willie Kirk. He's been suspended with an investigation he's working with. It's believed he's been in a relationship with a player in the team. Obviously, we know what's happened at Sheffield United recently. So this has been the question that's been doing the rounds in all the press conferences, but then basically asking the managers, what's your opinion on a player-manager relationship? Some of the noise that's come through is, I don't know, I think there's been a general trend, but there's been some interesting comments or no comments. Bristol City's Lawrence Smith said it should be a sackable offence. West Ham refused the question. Brighton's manager, Mickey Harris, avoided the question, stipulating that they simply did not have the knowledge to make an opinion on it, which I think is quite poor, considering it's quite a big thing in the news. You should at least do some research on it and maybe formulate an opinion to bring in, even if maybe it's not a one that may not go down well. I think it's quite poor that he's sort of backed out of that one. Jonas was pretty clear, said, yep, clear no, inappropriate, and he even referred to obviously what's happened in the NWSL, which we all know. We had the solidarity stands with a lot of the players that suffered over there with some of the use and abuse of player-manager relationships. Aston Villa's Carla Ward was saying sackable offence and our duty to protect the players. And in her opinion, this crosses a line, which I think we can all agree with. However, Chelsea's Emma Hayes really lit the touchpaper on this one, pulled pin, chucked grenade, and tossed it right in the mixture. Yes, believes a manager-player relationship is inappropriate, but was also keen to add that so are player-to-player relationships. And obviously, those of us who follow the WSL or not know that they are plentiful across all teams. And she actually hopes that this is something that be phased out of the game. She cites challenges such as, if one of the players' relationship is in the team and one of them isn't, or if they're on different contracts, so one might be leaving in the season and one's got a few years left, and how will it work if they're pulled apart, or if let's say they're competing, to be on the team, and that can cause issues with the dynamic in the changing room, conflicts of are you choosing them because they're a couple, or are you choosing both of them to be on the team together because they're a couple, or if one of them misses out, how does that affect it? And yes, the response to that is maybe how you can expect on the world of social media. So I will open the floor. Lottie, as you were last, I'll come to you first. What has been your take on this latest storm of news?
Oh, the managers have all approached it really differently. For me though, it's because he's a man in the women's game. It's a power trip for me. Like it's like I'm not saying everybody would, but some women who want to start may take that route to get running, although they're not performing in training. And I'm not saying that this person has, but it's a massive power trip, but it shouldn't be happening. There should be, as Jonas said, there should be safeguarding stuff in whistleblowing in place. What has your club got? And it's for Emma Hayes to gaslight it like that is very hypocritical after the two she let go to Germany this summer. And I just feel like it should be addressed and it shouldn't be happening at all.
Yeah,
because it's first it was Sheffield and now it's Leicester, so it's kind of also left them in the lurch as well with the rest of the season. So I just there should be processes in place like in any workplace, but clearly there isn't.
Clearly there isn't. And what was your opinion then when you hear bringing in player to player relationships?
You can't control that. That's the problem. They work together. We've seen how Katie McCabe and Caitlin Ford's situation. Yeah, it does happen. But you've seen the situation with Caitlin Ford, Kate McCabe, and Leah Volti, and Rusha Littlejohn. Dare I say her name? It's horrible. You saw it at the World Cup. You saw it after Northern Ireland v Australia. If you weren't watching, where have you been? Obviously someone's still quite bitter about it and hurt, which is I'm not too fussed about. I think it's kind of petty, it's boring. Let's move on. But I feel like it has sort of affected the team. It's like when you see social media, you don't see Caitlin Ford and Katie with everybody if Leah Volti's out. And I've noticed that quite frequently, and I can understand why. But I also don't want to look into it like that. But it kind of makes sense, if that makes this is me just conspiracy theory, but you can see it. But it hasn't torn Arsenal apart, and that's what I really like.
Yes, and I would also say if you look at, for me, somebody watched the documentary of the ACL documentary, and you see how the Mead and Mars relationship really helped get them through that moment in their lives. And I think to dismiss it for the sake of the team, from Emma Hayes' perspective, just sounds so cheesy. To dismiss love, for the sake of winning a trophy is a bit, I don't know. Yeah, that's like competitive.
The whole thing, the amount of amazing players she's had through those doors, and they've been in relationships with each other, or they're dating each other, and she's not really done anything about it. That's hypocritical.
I mean, there are some obviously rumoured ones, but the one we all know is obviously Magda and Pernille Harder, who.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. But she let them go to Germany.
And then they both went off together. Yeah.
Exactly. And they're still playing together. So, which I think is really cute, by the way. It's so cute.
did you have any thoughts on this one? What was your reaction to this, and what's your feeling on the whole? I don't see it was a scandal, but the whole sort of discussion that's happening.
Yeah, pretty much exactly what Lottie's saying. Really, it's an abuse of power. It could be on both sides. It's not all. Relationships are always tricky. It's not always one person's fault in particular, just because he's the coach is the man and she's the player. It could be the other way around. You just don't know these things. But I also think it can be, like Lottie said, getting into the team, picking her to play more often, maybe giving her the armband, like benefits. But it could also, as we all know, can be the complete opposite and really punish the player in a different way, just because there might be something going on. So it's not always going to benefit the player, I don't think. But yeah, it's a safeguarding thing. Then you just think what the ages some of the girls can be within women's football. They could be quite young still, can't they? And it's one of those things that they should, out of everything they need to worry about in sports, that's one of the things they really shouldn't have to. And regardless of just being the manager, but anyone on the staff, really, I think it's the same sort of position, isn't it? Afterwards, or if it's hard because you think if you're a bit older and you're into your career and it's more of something outside of football, it's hard to then put it down. But it's obviously not going well at the moment. And fair play for things like Leicester taking it up and suspended him, not allowing him to be a part of it until things are actually sorted and they get to the bottom of it. Because you could tell sometimes that's been they've been left to do their job and maybe dismiss what the player is saying. So fair play to Leicester on that. But yeah, I think as well, you're not gonna change the player's feelings for another player, possibly.
No.
And she's also there's a couple in her team right now. So can you imagine what they're going to be feeling when they hear that, thinking, oh, actually, maybe she doesn't support us. Like,
we should say though, Emma Hayes is on the way out, so it's not like she, she could probably say what you want in that circumstance, because who cares? I'm off to America. Although, of course, we should say in America,
she has a duty of care still as a manager to support her players, and one of them is one of the players that she speaks so highly of. So, can you imagine what she's now feeling hearing that, thinking that her relationship should not be allowed, basically?
And if you think in America, there's been some high-profile player-player relationships in the international team. So Emma Hayes entered the dressing room, having basically put her stall out on this one. Are we very intrigued to go down well? Matt, any closing thoughts on this at all before we move into the game preview itself?
Well, the history of it all actually starts a little bit longer because Leicester have had this before. It's actually,
yes, they have.
The former, the former Sheffield United manager who was in charge, he had done it before. It was one of the reasons why he was eventually sacked. For them now, Leicester to now have a second manager, to be doing that, it's a bit inappropriate. Just it shouldn't be happening. And I think back to even when I was doing things with Marine, there wasn't a relationship. There wasn't any relationship between the manager and the player. The only one I can think of was that one of the coaches was married to one of the players. But again, they're married. Player, coach. It's different.
In that sense, it's consensual and acceptable. But the worry is do you get a conflict of interest in terms of the fact that you have almost an inside line to management? As someone who in work, we have to do conflict of interest all the time. We have to declare it if we believe that a relationship or someone we know could compromise the company in terms of having a way around process to get things done in terms of deals and confidential information. Could something like that, knowing that you're married to the manager or one of the coaches, that could impact, have an impact in that way?
It could, but it could also. It just depends on how you view it and how you both maybe have talked about it and thought about it in the past, and just maybe you've discussed it before you take on that sort of role. But it's just one of those things that I think we're gonna see less of now because there's going to be a lot more instructions. I always think at how Jonas has approached this now. He's made sure to have people like Lydia Bedford. He's had Kelly Smith as well on the coaching staff, so that there is a figurehead. You even look at Jodie Taylor now, even though she's not really coaching, even though she's done the coaching, like badges and everything, she is able to, if needed to. She is a point of contact, security, safeguard, whatever you want to call it, which I think is what's probably going to have to happen in next couple of years with a lot of these WSL clubs, and perhaps even in the Championship. You don't want to have the same issues over and over again. I mean, you don't want to have that abuse of power that Jonathan Morgan has actually had as well, and the implications that's had at Sheffield United.
I think you raised a very good point, having women in the coaching team, not just because it's great to have women in the coaching team and getting them to grow, the likes of, say Kelly Smith and Lydia Bedford obviously last season, but to have that point of call, and someone that players can potentially confide in it, and I think that's really good. And Jodie Taylor, another great one. One of the things interesting thing I discovered out of all of this, I never realised this, but even the England management got stung by this, with Mark Sampson. It was revealed he'd actually had a relationship with a player at Bristol. I didn't know about this, and that's one of the reasons he lost his job at England. And and this obviously was way back in 2017 at the time when it all sort of came out. So
after
it shows
the World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah, after the Euros, Euro 2017. So it shows that even as some high up the chain as that simply did not have the process and do the checks, and they've since, if we knew what we knew now, what we knew then, we wouldn't have obviously done it. And I think it shows that obviously, despite the WSL growth and what we are 2024, over 10 years into this, that there's still so many processes that have been put in place to protect players, and hopefully things like this will enforce change, and there will be rules and safeguards and measures put in to prevent something like this happening. Because as likes of Carla Ward and Lauren Smith and Jonas have all said, it's absolutely unacceptable. I think we can all agree, if this was found to be happening at any WSL club, the manager should be sacked. I think we can all agree on that one. Yeah, exactly. And I don't think Jonas is obviously guilty of this. But if he was, I'd have him at the club in an instant. This is not anything rival triviality. This is serious stuff, and I hope if Willie Kirk is found guilty, I hope he is kicked out of Leicester and they get someone else in. But let's move on to something a bit more positive. Oh, it's Chelsea away. Maybe not. So the game itself. We'll quick run through some of the players that are available. And, the situation could not be any different to the game last season. If you remember the game last season, it was a bit rubbish. We were on our knees. We lost 2-0 by half time. And I think even McCabe missed a penalty. And, I think we had about 5 or 6 players out for the season at that point. It was ridiculous. So just a quick run through. Obviously, we know Amanda's out, but they did confirm that Laura Veenreuter is very close to return. I was going to say the last ACL. We've had a few more since then. But the last ACL from last season is almost back in the team. This game will probably come too soon for her, but they're looking at maybe towards the end of the season. Conti Cup final, maybe. Who knows? Keep an eye out for that one. Chloe, Sabs, and Emily are all back from the Gold Cup. And a big congratulations to Emily Fox for bringing home some silverware for the America, which is great. So Jonas obviously has plenty of options to choose from. Chelsea, not so much. Just to run through some of the players that are out. Berger, Bright, Bjorn, Mia Fischel, Sam Kerr, Ramirez. Kirby is deemed a doubt, and Lauren James has been ill. Lottie, I was going to say you are slightly suspicious of the latter two.
Absolutely, I'm suspicious. She's got nobody up top but Lauren.
Well, she has got Katerina Macario.
Yeah, but
and she's on form. 2 goals in 2 games. She scored the winner against Everton, and she got a quick one off the bench against Leicester. I mean, she's come back in at the right moment.
I'm sorry, but our backline looks good at the moment. I'm not complaining.
No, well, this is what we're going to sort of move on to a bit. I think that we're going to get on to some team predictions and how we're going to line up. But I think it's fascinating that Chelsea look so depleted at this point, and thinking how we suffered last season. So I'm not going to go in and with a smile of a Cheshire cat and mock them, because quite frankly it's Christ is terrible. We've had plenty of them, and the words pot kettle will spring to mind. So I'm going to throw a pop quiz to the 3 of you, as I like to do, a bit of a stats fun thing. So Arsenal haven't done the league double over Chelsea since what year? G, I'm going to give you first dibs.
Oh God, I wouldn't I wouldn't have a clue.
Okay, well, I'll give you a clue. The WSL started in 2011, so that's the earliest you can go.
Yeah.
We're talking WSL League double. So this is just throw a dart on the board. When do you think the last League double Chelsea was?
I'll say like 2018.
2018. Okay, we've got a 2018 from G. Matt, I'm going to come to you. Higher or lower?
I'm going to go 2016.
2016. Okay, and Lottie, last dibs.
The 2018-29 season.
2018-19 season. She going season we won the league. Well, in that season we lost at home at Meadow Park 2-1. So that was out the question. The answer is actually 2013. We actually have, and not only that, it's the only time we've actually done the league double over Emma Hayes. I think that was like our first full season or something. They finished second from bottom, just above Doncaster Rovers that season. But yeah, we've only done it once. We've done it 3 times in WSL, but that was the last time we did it in 2013. So it's been a long time coming, and we actually have an opportunity to do it this season. Just a little side note: we've only ever won at Kings Meadow once. That was the legendary 5-0 win. No other wins since then, but this is the first time we're going to play at Stamford Bridge, so maybe a change of fortune. So I'm going for another stat at you. Who was the last Arsenal player to score away at Chelsea? And you can have WSL and all competitions. And so as Lottie's looking a bit scared, I'm going to come to her last. So Matt, I'm going to go to you.
Oh,
who do you reckon? One of them doesn't actually play for them at Arsenal anymore. As a clue.
One of them.
So you can have one which is all competitions and then one which is WSL. So that's where
I would probably say Jordan Nobbs.
Jordan Nobbs, okay. She has scored away at Chelsea, so it's a fair stab. G?
I was going to go with Jem Beattie.
Jem Beattie, okay. Jem Beattie. Yeah. Lottie?
I'm going for a wild card here because I didn't get to watch her very much. Danielle van der Donk.
Top marks for Lottie. Daniela van der Donk in 2019 scored away at Chelsea in the WSL, gave us a 5th-minute lead. Sadly, Chelsea came back in the second half, and goals from England and Thorstottier with 5 minutes to go. Won the game 2-1. That was the last time we scored in the league. As for all competitions, it was, of course, Caitlin Ford in the League Cup when she scored a screamer from the edge of the box in the League Cup in the group stage. We did lose 4-1 that day, so I've tried to airbrush it from my memory. So history is against us here. Haven't scored, like I said, since 2020 at Meadow Park, 2019 in the league. So is this the season Arsenal finally do it? It's Emma Hayes' last season. It's Arsenal's last trip away to Chelsea with Emma Hayes in charge. Are we going to get that league double, G?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, feeling confident. Why?
I just think we're a very strong team, as like personalities, and what they went through last season has brought them all together. I think we've got enough in our locker if we play the right team to challenge them for sure, and we should be taking advantage of the fact that they got big players out, because they would do it to us. So we got to go there and show them what we are. I mean, we obviously the Emirates game was pretty amazing. I think we were all shocked that was happening.
I was.
But it just goes to show that sometimes changes happen out of nowhere. We weren't expecting that to happen that day.
Yeah.
And we might be expecting that not to happen tomorrow. But I'm not saying it's going to be 4-1, but I think it's going to be more competitive than we maybe believe from previous from history. History has to change at some point.
It does. Arsenal, until Man City got their win, Arsenal were the last team to get a clean sheet away at Kingsmeadow. That was the 0-0 draw a few seasons back, which I was there for, and it's one of the best 0-0 draws I have ever been to. It was absolute carnage. How no goals were scored, I'll never know. And Leah Williamson got away with a blatant handball in the box.
So did Jess Carter.
Yeah, I know. We'll just say the Leah Williamson one was a lot more obvious and a lot more funny.
I won't let you forget that.
No, all right.
Well, I'll come to you on this one, Matt, because G raised a really good point about Arsenal. But the injuries that we suffered last season, it really helped foster a spirit of camaraderie and togetherness to the extent that it became the name of the documentary they ran. With the injuries that Chelsea are suffering, could that actually inspire them to put up a really good show against us rather than it being a detriment?
Well, this is one question to another, because they've got a really tight fixture list coming up. Essentially, they've had FA Cup and Conti Cup semi-final last week. This week they've got our game on the Friday. Then they've got to fly over to the Netherlands for the Ajax game.
Yeah,
and then
that will be hard because I was away in Ajax, and they are a tough cookie, and they're even better this season.
I can't remember who they've got next week, but let's just fast forward. Right at the end of the month, you've got the Conti Cup final. So they are really stretched on not only time but also on the amount of time that they can prepare for things.
I'm sorry, Matt. They're away at West Ham next week.
Well, West Ham. Yeah. Doesn't really mean anything because
then they're hosting Ajax at the Bridge, and then they've got us. So we've literally got no games between now and the final.
Yeah, so we've got that rest period, and it'd be a bit the same with Man City really, because Man City don't have anything. They just got the WSL now to look forward to. But it's just going to be, if you were to look at this would be the fixture where Chelsea drop the ball, and that would then really go right. Okay, the title race is wide open now, because essentially there's only 3 points in it between City and the other two chasing teams. I don't. If Chelsea have that togetherness, I'm not too sure, because you're gonna have to have the same amount of people there throughout, and they've got a couple of players out of contract at the end of the season, so that's one thing. I imagine a couple of them are thinking about what they're going to be doing come the summer. I think a lot of them will probably be thinking about who's the next manager coming in, how do I fit in, and that's so. I think there's so many questions. I know that they're probably looking more at, well, it's Liam Hayes' last season. We need to try and do everything.
To get what she wants. Europe's the big one.
Oddly enough, one I don't know who the journalist was, but he was saying that basically Emma Hayes had two PowerPoints, one with all the trophies on one, and one just blank with none of them on. And
and that blank one was meant to be Europe, was it?
Well, no idea. But if I'm honest, I don't think this game. If we don't win it, then it's kind of an opportunity missed. But at the same time, it kind of just dampens a lot of it, and it might actually strengthen them a lot more, because you know what's going to happen by the end of the season. Everyone comes back, apart from the obvious player, because she's in crutches at the moment. But I just don't. I don't know if Chelsea will have that togetherness. Maybe for Emma Hayes' sake, they might do.
That could be like we're hearing with Klopp in the men's side. The idea of the party manager, do it for me. It is interesting that we haven't actually heard a thing. Well, there's been rumours that it might be the Lyon manager. I think at the moment that's sort of the thought process at the moment. It is a weird game though, because I think it's one of the few times that Arsenal are going into this game as the favourites simply because of circumstance. The fact that we have got a lot of players available. I mean, I'd imagine, for example, we will start Leia and Lottie together in defence, just because we got Leia back now, which is a massive plus. We got a plethora of choices up front. Looking at the table, Chelsea obviously on 2 defeats this season, Arsenal on 3. So the rule of 3 that has stood the test of time in the WSL, that if you lose 3 matches, you're out of the running. If Arsenal beat Chelsea, effectively by that ruling, Man City have won the league. Preposterously, obviously they haven't yet, but an Arsenal win would put Chelsea in that very interesting position of being in the title race and being on 3 points. And although, unfortunately, if Arsenal were to draw, well, we would be level points to Chelsea. The goal difference is considerable against us. I think it's a 13-goal swing. Well, that's to overcome. So if we win 7-0, great. But I don't see that happening. But Lottie, if Arsenal don't win this one, if Chelsea, as they all do, because they seem to be in their phase of, we're going to win every game 1-0, we're going to scrape a goal, defend deep, low block, as they do at this stage of the season, which you've seen them do time and time again.
You mean boring Chelsea?
Yeah, well, this is what Emma Hayes does. She'll play nice football the first half of the season, and then we'll go, right, bunker mode. It's here to the end of the season. We're going to win every game 1-0, and we're going to house our way to the title. And it looks like, based on the Conti Cup and the FA Cup wins, they are moving into that phase, especially with limited resources. So I think this is going to be a tough one. And if Chelsea do that to us, say they scrape a 1-0, say Macario gets a goal in the 30th minute, whatever, and they hunker in deep, and we can't break them down. It's a 1-0 win to Chelsea. Is that a massive failure and a missed opportunity for Arsenal if Arsenal don't win? Even if it's a draw, if we don't win this game, is that a failure by Arsenal?
I'm going to say no, purely on the basis of what we learned from playing Tottenham back-to-back. And if I'm honest, I'd rather lose the points than win a trophy.
Well, this is a follow-up question.
Even though there's a greater time span between it.
Yeah.
That's how I say it. I'd rather have the silverware than lose the league and go for qualifying at this point.
Because I have a feeling on this game. I have a feeling that whoever loses this game wins the Conti Cup final.
Exactly.
Which is going to be really awkward if we win this game.
Exactly.
You know what? It'd be even more awkward because then what happens with a draw?
Well, this thing, I mean, I just think back to when we had Chelsea in the FA Cup and we lost that one, and then we had them the next weekend, and I think it was the weekend after, or 2 weekends after, and we won in the League Cup, and it was just mad in space of like 7 days how the fortunes had done a complete flip on us. So that's one of the reasons I'm nervous, is the fact that there is a third Chelsea game on the horizon, and I can't see us beating Chelsea 3 times in the same season, which would be.
As was right on that goal difference, it's 13.
It's 13. So yeah, if we get a +7 and a -7, say we win 7-0, we're there. I mean, if we got another 5-0 like we did in 2018, I think we'd be laughing. Even though that is, I think, by all accounts, one of the most freakish Arsenal results ever, with a Joe Montemurro side who just could never compete with Chelsea in any game. To pull that rabbit out of the hat was just unbelievable, and one of the reasons we actually won the league that season. So let's go into the teams and how we think we'll line up. Actually, while we do that, we should just have a quick shout on the goalkeeping front, because there was a transfer rumour that dropped this week. We think will probably be in goal for this one. I think we can all agree that Sabs is now pretty much relegated to number 2, and I think will probably move on at the end of the season, because there might well be a new goalkeeper coming in Daphne von Domselaar. There's a rumor that I know there's a lot of love towards her. Lottie, there's a smile on your face. Is this a goalkeeper you'd want at the club?
We should have got her after the Euros, if I'm honest with you. But I'm happy to have Sabs, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
For me, at the moment, she's got hip problems, so I'm not too keen. Because when you've got something like that and you need your goalkeeper to be mobile, that's not ideal.
No.
Because those types of injuries will come back.
I mean, she wasn't at the Conti Cup game, which I think did help us a bit. She wasn't at the League Cup game. You're right.
No, that's why we tanked her. Let's be honest. I'm sorry.
I mean, I have her in my fantasy team, so I would.
Yeah, you look back at the Emirates game and you look at how she played there. You know she's a decent keeper.
She did make the mistake at the end.
Katie McCabe did best there. You're not gonna beat Katie, I'm afraid. But I'd have her purely on the basis because of Jamie.
Yeah.
She put a tweet out the last time we had a Dutch goalkeeper, we won the league. So I'm like,
maybe it will swing in our favour.
It's also a case of I'm very fully aware that Manu's going on paternity leave very soon. Can Sabs fill those boots, or will she remain the cup keeper? The rules say we can get someone outside the transfer window when this happens, because we're going to do that for Amanda. It's a case of who wants to give up their players, which I think is absolutely fantastic to accommodate any women's player across the league. Because the only says that everyone's entitled to a family if they want a family. So it's a case of, are Villa really going to let them go, because they're injury FC at the moment?
Well, Chelsea bought their previous keeper, Hannah Hampton. Van Domselaar does have a release clause, which I think Arsenal could easily buy and buy her out. I'll be all for her coming to club. I've been a big fan of her since the Euros. I was there watching her play and thought, this is a really good keeper, and she took the number 1 shirt with ease and hasn't looked back. And I remember watching her in the Netherlands when England went over there, and she did well to keep England out until obviously the Dutch got the late winner. G, are you all for a DVD Mark II at Arsenal this for next season?
Yeah, for sure.
What
We all said it at the Euros, didn't we? That she was one of our favourite players of the tournament. And it was a bit of a shock when she signed for Villa.
Yeah.
No offense to Villa, of course, but because they had a great season. But you would think it would be going to the bigger named clubs at the time. So yeah, obviously we have that vacancy to fill, I think, don't we? It's an ongoing conversation of maybe that's our biggest, weakest spot now, and looking for the improvement in that area. So yeah, I think that would definitely be an improvement.
I mean, Bahardi's not the future. So we should having just signed her, she's only obviously for cover for Sabs. But,
exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, she, as you said, she's young. She just took out in the Euros, took the between the sticks for the first time. They had a new goalkeeper for Yonks. So yeah, she's obviously been at that big stage as well now. So that only brings extra experience, doesn't it? So yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, I think.
Absolutely. And Matt, Goalkeepers Union, just a few quick words before we go around the rest of the squad. Yes or no for a DVD 2 sequel?
Well, you can never replace the original DVD, but
no, of course you can't.
But yeah, from what I saw against her at the Euros when going to the game against the Netherlands, Switzerland, she was really impressive. And like you mentioned, just the way that she took that shirt from minute one when Van der Sar got injured, and just to go from there is just huge and impressive. And the fact that no one went for her after that Euros was sort of a bit of a question. Then to have the come and get me plea to Man City as well, that was a bit of an odd one. And then to sign for Villa, I said, oh no, you're going to I thought you were going to City 1 minute, and it's just an odd one. But
I think it was good to see that. I think going to Villa is quite a good one because you don't want to jump straight ahead.
No.
I think it's a good stepping stone to go forward. I mean, look at Anne-Katrin. She had I think she was at Birmingham originally, and then she went on to Chelsea. And I think maybe a jump to Arsenal or jump to Man City or Chelsea straight off the bat would have been a step too far. So we'll see. Yeah, because she's proven to herself. I think she hasn't had a lot of goals, but I think that's partly due to the fact that she's playing for Aston Villa, who have been, let's be blunt, atrocious this season defensively. And I think she has been overexposed in that regard.
I think I need to call Chelsea for Champions League football next season, and they might have a bad season like Villa did.
Well,
I'm still convinced it's my fault.
Yeah, in fairness, we were all guilty of it. So let us move away from the goalkeeper discourse. We can all agree Manu's going to be involved with this one. I mean, you just mentioned about Sabs. She had two WSL starts for Arsenal this season, both against Man United, and in both games she's made mistakes. I think she might be on the way out, sadly. But moving up the pitch towards the defence, and some interesting decisions for Jonas to make is, of course, Emily Fox is back. So out of Steph, McCabe, and Fox G, who would you have in the fullback?
I would have my girl Steph and Emily Fox.
Oh, you are a Catley fan, aren't you? Yes. Matt?
I think this one's going to be. I think we're going to see Katie to start with as the left back, and we'll have Emily on the right.
Interesting, because this game is interesting with the whole, especially if, let's say we start. Well, we'll go on to attack on a minute, but how that would work with forwards, as we know, works quite well with Catley. Lottie, what's your fullback setup?
It's got to be. You don't have a team if you don't have Katie McCabe, so I'm going with Katie McCabe and Emily Fox. Purely on the basis is that she will pocket Lauren James if the mind games are true. Yeah. She will pocket her and she will not get a game. She'll get frustrated, and then you'll see that famous yellow card come out for one of them, and we all know who's going to get it. Let's be serious.
Well, I should actually add on to that. If we're looking to put a Katie McCabe on Lauren James, and Lauren James is attacking on the Chelsea left, so attacking the Arsenal right, would it not be beneficial to put McCabe at right back and then put Steph on the left?
If you've been watching the way she's been playing, she's been switching sides. I would rather have her on. I'd rather have Katie on the left.
Fair enough. I think it's interesting you're saying that Fox should go straight in, straight off the Gold Cup and straight into the starting.
Yeah, I do as well. Do you know what? If you've seen the highlights from that game, just for her, I've seen a fair few reels of her playing.
Great assist.
She's just absolutely in the zone at the moment.
That's a good point, man. She did that up Lindsay for the winner against Brazil.
She's torn apart Liverpool. She's torn apart Man United. It's now time For hang on, no, she hasn't torn apart Man United. Take that back.
No, not Man United. It was
tell
them back.
Yeah, that was Lacasse.
Well, you have.
Come back to her later.
It's a good thing you mentioned Lacasse because that's bringing the next point, because I think we can all agree the midfield, as much as we all have Cara Cooney crossing the pod, I think we can all agree that the mid will likely be Kim, Velty, Plover, and I see no reason why we change that. The interesting bit is in the attack, and Lottie, you were there for the League Cup against Aston Villa, where we lined up differently in attack. We had Russo as a left winger, me on the right, Stina in the forward line. We now have Lacasse back as a left wing option, who I think we can all agree was terrific against Man United. So
it's Chelsea's turn
and Ford is available as well. So what is the front three setup that you would go for?
What I would go for, I'd keep it as it is. I want Stina playing. She had a hat trick. She deserves every minute. Like, I haven't seen 2 hat tricks from a player in a while. So I would leave Stina where she is, leave Russo where she is, leave Beth where she is, and then bring in Ford, bring in Lacasse just for that extra energy in the second half.
And have to be freed off the bench.
You know that full 90 minutes, if Jess Carter is at the back, she's going to get tired. And that's where her mistakes come from at England. And that's that energy from Chloe Lacasse.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to think about it then in my head. From Chloe Lacasse, that she will fall over her own feet. So I would bring her off the bench along with Caitlin Ford. I wouldn't want Beth playing the whole time. Stina can't do a full 90 minutes.
Well, actually,
she does switch off occasionally.
Yeah.
And it just drives me nuts because it's again like Russo, very easy tap-ins, and it just goes wide.
I think it's also
why
it's a shame we should also add, because one of the players I didn't mention, but we already know about, is obviously Miedemar is still out. She's had a surgery, she's still out, and we'll obviously miss this one. It's another option we don't have in the forward line. I was going to say though, if you're starting Stina up front, would you drop Pullover, move Kim to the pivot, and start Frida behind Stina?
Yeah, because if you look, I actually had a look across the season, and every time Stina's scored, Frida's got a worldie.
Yeah.
So, and that's all the games that I've been to live, and I've looked at it and I thought, hang on a minute, I had to go back and check it 3 times. Every time Stina Blackstenius scores, get a worldie from Frida.
So, would you start Frida in 10 instead then?
Yeah, it have to be Kimmy and Volty at the back. I'm sorry, Vic.
Sorry, Vic. Yeah, Matt, how would you line up? Given our options, how would you line up our? Well, say we'll extend to front 4 then, shall we say? And maybe how would you have the midfield?
So I think we'll most likely see Kim and Leah. I think on that left it's going to be Chloe, and then we'll see Beth on the right. We've seen quite well that they are very flexible to swap over halfway.
Yeah,
we've mentioned this so many times. It's something Caitlin can't seem to do because she shies away when she's on that right hand side. Unless she's seeing Ashton Neville, then she's not making her. Sorry, Lottie, I know you were drinking there.
Yeah. So you'd have a Mead Lacasse winger. So who would you have as the lead?
I think it's going to be Stina. And if it's Stina, then you drop Vic for Frida, because as much as Vic is. Actually Vic is the top assist player in the league.
That's a very good point. Yes, she is. 6. Yeah.
So
you'd bench Russo and have a Stina, Frida front 2.
Yeah. Well, that's a midfield and striker.
G, any different takes? How would you line up? Bearing in mind Chelsea, we know Chelsea are going to probably. I don't think they're going to sit in deep and low block. I think they will come at us, and I think that will help us. We're usually quite good in these games. Certainly we're at Emirates Stadium. How do you think we'll line up in attack?
I'm with Lottie, Stina, Russo, and Mead. Stina and Russo have such a good connection. I think it's so underrated. Because it's either supposed to be, or one of them should be up top and the other one should be on the bench. And no, but the way they link up and they just know each other. There's no like rivalry. It doesn't seem that, she's getting in over me. It's like, right, we'll link up. When you come on, we'll play together. Les is fine to just come out onto the left. There's no issues with her having to change position to allow Stina to go up top. So yeah, I think they're very powerful together, and it's underrated. We have a different dynamic when like Caitlin Ford, because she wants to do it all herself. link up.
Would you have Ford? Would you have Russo as the 10 behind Stina, or on the left to be a back post option for Stina?
I would say on the left. She could do both. But I think she's very good at hunting down the ball, and she's got quite a lot of pace on her. She obviously isn't a natural winger, but she can offer that, and she will get back and help as well, which I think is important. Not just being up there to try and score a goal. No. She's quite versatile in that way. So they're the top 3 I would go for.
You raise a good point, because I remember when I was watching the League Cup game, and there's a bit the ball was in our defensive third, and I thought the fullback was cleaning up. I was like, that's Russo at left back, racing her back and then to build up, and then obviously come forward again. I think it's going to be fascinating. I mean, all my chips were on Russo, as she is my local hero here in Maidstone. But I think there is a case for Lacasse, pace on the wing, Stina running in behind Mead. Mead loves a Chelsea game. She loves the game against Chelsea, as we know. But Russo, I don't know. Russo's got. I wouldn't be surprised if we had maybe a Russo 10, Stina 9, and maybe that way we'll do it. Russo got a brace at the Emirates Stadium. She has scored a few goals against Chelsea in time, especially she's done it for Man United, doing it for Arsenal. So fingers crossed. I'm really intrigued by this, because one of the big things about Arsenal, we haven't managed an away scalp against a top 3 side since 2018. It's been draws and defeats. We've not managed to win. We haven't won away at Manchester City since 2017. That was the spring series when Nob scored that worldie free kick from 30 yards. It always is around on social media, which is great to watch. And we haven't won away at Chelsea since obviously 2018. It's been nothing but defeat, lost, a draw, defeat. We need to have a win at some point if this project's going to kick on, and we've got 2 big away games left. We've got Chelsea and we've got Manchester City. And if we're going to win the league this season, or at least get second, which I think would be pretty good, we've got to claim a big scalp, and this is our first chance to do it. So with that in mind, it's time for the score predictions. Now, I know, G, that you dropped a score prediction already for this one. You've already put your chips out on this one on your own show. So do you remember what your prediction was?
It was 2-1, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. So, Lottie, you look petrified. Do you remember what your score prediction was? No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know. I said we were going to win, though. I don't remember.
Well, Matt,
I've had a busy few days. I'm tired. I'm still on the adrenaline comeback from the Champions League.
I will come back to you, Lottie, and you can have a fresh stab at it. But Matt, what's your prediction for this?
Well, I seem to be the king of 2-1s on the pod and not getting it right, but Arsenal do end up winning. So 2-1, but for the love of God, can Mead please score and not hit the one post, then hit the other post, then hit the crossbar?
Hey, she scored against Chelsea at Emirates Stadium, and it was a goal so good it turned everybody in the team for a hot dog and then smashed it into an empty net. Was brilliant. An interesting thing to come out of this, I've heard Berger hasn't played for Chelsea since that game. I think she's been out injured, but Hannah Hampton's obviously come into the side.
I think Musovic is going to start this one.
Are you?
Yeah. Considering that's what happened last time at the Emirates, Berger got dropped for Musovic, and
she had a blinder. She had a blinder of a game, and as the Americans have learned, nothing gets past her.
That's two.
I think
she's gonna kill you.
I mean, it must hurt Emma Hayes being the US national team manager, having Musovic in the side. I mean, maybe that's why she's finding herself benched all the time. It's some sort of petty revenge. I think there's a good case.
Though. How does that make sense?
Who? Musovic?
Emma's English.
Yeah, but she's the US manager.
She's the new manager. But she's got doesn't necessarily have to have allegiances to them.
No, it's early. She's getting the vibes in nice and early against the Swedish. Lottie, what's your prediction?
I think I said 3-1, didn't I, G?
I want to say
3-0, one of the two. 3-0. Yeah. I know I said 3 something. Right. Do you know what? I'm going to back Manu. I'm going for the 3-0. Sod it. She's had a few clean sheets in the last few games. I'm going to back the goalkeepers union. And I'm pretty sure I said that on G's show the other night, and I got some funny looks.
Given that this game has got so much hype and there's so much firepower for Arsenal, I'm going 0-0. I'm going 0-0, and I'm going. This is going to be one of these how was this a 0-0?
Based on you're not watching it.
True. It is pure spite. It is pure spite that I hope.
Are you still hurting after what happened with Lottie at England?
Oh, what? The fact that I missed that goal? No, I've moved on from that. I don't bear grudges.
Do you know what? I a few weeks back, G, I asked these two about it, and they both missed it, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, what have I just done?"
Yeah, we missed Lotta's first goal for England. I missed it by about 2 minutes, I was fuming.
I blamed the TV. The TV wasn't working properly.
Yeah, same here. The stream wasn't working. So that concludes the preview. If you want to watch the game, it is 7:00 Friday night on Sky Premier League. And I think it's fantastic that WSL games are on the Premier League channel. I'm absolutely loving that, and I know that's going to annoy an ex-QPR player, which is even better. Some other games: Everton, Aston Villa, 1:00 on a Saturday. Liverpool, West Ham, Sunday, 12:00. Man United at home to Bristol. Brighton at home to Man City. And Spurs are at home to Leicester. So a big game of WSL action. Arsenal have to get the win. It's time to get that league double. We've not done it in ages. We need to get a win, get ourselves level with Chelsea, and make the run in even more interesting. And I hope to God it happens. And if we do that, then the next few games are going to be absolutely magical, and it sets us up very nicely for the Conti Cup final. But that's it. That's all the time we have. I'm sure I've gone well over, and Lottie is going to give me such a telling off for badly.
Why do you guys think I'm going to kill you all the time? You tried to make me choke on my water.
You gave us the death stare.
It's just horrible. You're making me sound so horrible.
Well, on that note,
if my mouth doesn't say it, my face does. So live with it. So you have done for the last couple of years, boys. Come on.
On that note, Lottie, why don't you tell the rest of the world where we can find you on social media?
You can find me at Lottie _AWFC on Twitter and Instagram, or you can find the pod's account on VAW Pod. It's usually me or Matt that are using it. Adam hasn't got access yet because we can't trust him.
and rightly so. Could you imagine the awful takes and poor banter I'll drop on that account?
No, it's the trolling that I fear.
Well,
it's the trolling for the Man United fans, and I don't need that grief.
We should quickly add, and on the topic of the pod and the YouTube channel, we do have a bit of a momentous announcement. We have reached a milestone, Lottie, is that right?
Yeah, we have. We finally reached 150 subscribers.
Absolutely.
Woo!
Thank you so much for those of you who take your time to watch us spout nonsense about the Arsenal women for an hour. We really appreciate the follows. We really appreciate the likes and the comments and the subscribes. So please, if you're enjoying this, do give our pod a follow, do give our account a follow, and do subscribe to our channel. It really does mean a lot. G, obviously, thank you so much for guesting on our pod. You obviously have a pod show of your own and an account of your own. Where can we find you and your content?
Yeah, obviously, thank you for having me again. I always love chatting it with you guys. Yeah, on X, I guess that's what it's called now.
We still call it Twitter. Keeping it real, it's good. Twitter, and it always.
I didn't know. It's just at GTrigs, which I'll share all of the podcast bits and bobs on there. But yeah, it's called the All Arsenal Show on a Tuesday night. So yeah, but thanks for having me again.
Absolutely, and yes, if you are wanting to follow all things Arsenal, men and women, do give that show a watch. Lots of interesting guests on there and good content. Matt, where can we find you?
You can find me at MattLR28, or you, as Lottie mentioned, you can find us on VAW Pod.
And you can find me at Adam Salter4, where there's lots of ramblings, nonsense, and occasionally, when I can be bothered, I write a bit about football. But yeah, that's where you can find me. But I advise don't follow it because there's nothing interesting there, and it's pretty boring, really, nothing of interest. But that's it. Something that is of interest is, of course, Arsenal versus Chelsea, Chelsea versus Arsenal, Stamford Bridge tomorrow night. Best of luck to the Arsenal. Bring on those 3 points. Paint London red once and for all. Come on, you Gunners.